Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time, rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to the most outstanding children's book of the year and winner, Desdemona's Dreams. And I have the author, Zachary Warren Moore, with me this morning, and we'll have the artist later in the show. Thank you so much for being here, Zach. How are you?
I'm good. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. To Dream of Dancing was such a great tale, and it really pulled on your imagination. How did you come up with the series?
It all came from a dream, actually. I probably about 14 years ago, I woke up in the middle of the night from a dream of a little girl that could bring her dreams into the world while the world around her was losing its ability to dream, and it just spurred on from there. So I just imagined her and the things, how vividly you dream as a child and how they become kind of anthropomorphic. They take on a life of their own. And her dream of dancing was just something so potent to me, so alive. And watching my niece and nephew grow up a lot as kids, I used to watch them, and it was just easy to lose myself again in their imaginations.
Wow. So how did the book start out?
Um, the book started out with me finishing first. I worked on the series and wrote it as a very long poem that's hundreds of pages long. And then I approached my artist, Aaron Porter, who's a really close friend of mine, and asked if he'd be interested. And he, over a couple of years, he said yes after a while of thinking about it. And then over a couple of years, we kind of hashed out how we should do it. And then I made the decision to transfer the real world into prose. So I've been rewriting as I go and making the real world scenes prose and keeping the dream world in poetry. And Aaron is then, we broke it up into a series so that it's a little more accessible for him as an illustrator. So he's not doing just hundreds of illustrations at one time. He's actually able to focus on one volume at a time. So that's really where it started. We're lucky enough to, his father, Dare Porter, is an incredible layout design artist as well and has worked with children's books for years. So it was fortuitous. I didn't even know that when I approached Aaron, but his dad, real-time design, has been amazing. And
Yeah.
that's really the start of the book.
Wow. And the designs are amazing because they really make you feel like you're there
Thank
in
you.
that imaginary world where things aren't perfect all the time.
Exactly.
So just showing her sleeping.
Yeah,
Just,
no, and that's actually, Desdemona is based off of a real person, a close friend of ours.
oh,
So,
really?
mhm. Yeah, most of the models come from people we know. So they're actually real people in the world.
Wow. So do they have to model for these illustrations?
Um, we tend to get like general pictures of them, just doing expressions. So it makes it even realistic for Aaron when he's doing the sketches and paintings, because each one of these is also an original painting. So we plan on doing art shows as well to go along with it once we just compile a bit more.
Wow.
So
And I love this scene. It's like your little reading nook.
it's based, the bookshelves. The bookshelves are fun things for us. You can see the actual books that we grew up with in those bookshelves. Um, you find lots of little things throughout the books, and we leave them there. They're like little Easter eggs for people to look into.
Wow. And what age group did you start gearing the book towards?
Originally I actually didn't have a plan for that. I was just writing the story. It got put into the category of being a children's book, but it's not. It's a book I feel that adults can relate to, that they're not going to be tired of reading. Those books that your kids always want you to read over and over to them. I felt like I was writing a book that they could find something in as well, something inspiring, something imaginative, something that allowed them to be there with their kids. Because originally I was writing it as a very dark fairy tale that I figured might really just appeal to older crowd. But as I got into it further and further, I realized that it was something I would have wanted to read as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's, I think, some of the most important writing you can do, is when you realize it's what you want to read.
Well, it's very good. I loved it. And I
Thank
had
you.
several people read it along with me, and they really loved it. And they were all adults.
Oh, well, that's fantastic.
It did.
I just finished recording a read-along audiobook as well for kids that can't quite match the reading level of the book yet, because the books are meant to evolve and go kind of increase in the reading level. The word usage will get a little harder, the vernacular. And so the read-along books will allow them to listen to something that will tell them when to turn the pages, and then I think it will help with word comprehension and just in context. Yeah, just promoting literacy any way possible.
Wow. And is that your background? Do you have an English writing background?
English, yeah, my background was studying English and classical theater, and then a lot of poetry. Poetry is truthfully my first writing passion. So I've done a lot of spoken word performance throughout the years, and I still perform regularly in New Orleans.
Oh.
So, yeah.
It definitely shows up in the book. It's so creative, and it keeps the reader just going to find out what's going to happen next. How is it going to turn out, especially with the dancer? And she was so lovely.
Isn't she beautiful?
She is. And to be a little girl dreaming of being somebody so elegant, but caught in the whirlwind and the sands that go along with the story, I thought that was amazing. It really drew me in.
It's I don't know, dream worlds are such fun to play in. I mean, they're supposed to be so vivid to me, and the dancer was just, my mom was a dancer when I was a child. She was a flamenco dancer, so I grew up with a lot of dance being part of my life. And so it's always been an important part.
That is great. And where can people get the book?
You can find it online, nationally and internationally, at Amazon or Barnes & Noble.
Great. And where can they find out more about the series?
If they go to desdemonasdreams.com,
Mm-hmm.
we have a website that talks about the series, talks about what we're doing. I keep updating it, blogging on there for people. And they can also reach out and contact us. And we're also on
I know,
Facebook.
it's like we're all in a club.
Yeah,
My badge.
That's a fun thing, though. I love that. I want people to be part of the world that we're creating. It's something wonderful when I get to see kids and adults reading the book, or a friend of ours comes over regularly, and her daughter always has new questions for me about what's going on in the book, or why the use of the color purple, or why the use of the color red, and what is the music? Because the music, I'll give away one thing. The music of the maestros is actual music. You could play that if you put it down. So.
And that's one of the exciting things about you as an author, is that you do interact online with all of your fans and people interested in the series. It's nice that you give feedback on Twitter and Facebook and your webpage even. So tell us about the next book, and you're also working on an audio series, right?
Yes. So I just finished the audio book for the first book, To Dream of Dancing. I went to Atlanta to a friend of mine has a music studio. It's called Lestrange Psychedelic Funporium, and we did the recording over about 4 days, and just added in all the tracks and music. And it's really a read along so that we got to play with all the voices and characters, and then it's a read along so the kids who can't quite comprehend reading it on their own yet can also listen to it and know when to turn the pages and have story time. So if their parents are busy, but they're like, hey, I'd rather you not watch something, I'd rather maybe you read a book,
So they're
there's
like
a book.
reading along with you.
Exactly.
That's
And
perfect.
then, thanks. The next book coming out is called The Land of Mar, and it's Desdemona's adventures beginning in the Land of Lost Dreams. So she has to go to the Land of Lost Dreams and right what's wrong there. I don't want to give away too much, but it's got everything from pirates to classic literary references and adventures with a jovial character named Puck.
Wow. So can you share a couple of pages of the story with us today?
Absolutely. After reaching the bottom of the staircase, Desdemona turns left into the library, one of her favorite rooms in the house. The library has 3 large, comfortable chairs, very similar to the one in her bedroom. Each chair has a reading lamp behind it, made of brass, and 2 walls lined with 9 shelves of books each. Her stomach issues a warning growl for her not to dawdle, so she carries on through the archway leading into the dining room, where steaming apple sausages and blueberry ginger toast sit waiting on a plate. After devouring her breakfast, she waves to the moving frescoes on the wall. A knight in full armor having tea with a red dragon. Both wave back at her as she grabs her book bag from the back of the chair and heads towards the front door. Aunt Lulu Ann stands waiting by the door to see Desdemona off, with a packed lunch that she tucks into Desdemona's book bag.
Before we meet the artist, can you tell us what your favorite book of all time was growing up? What's influenced you to do the things that you do today?
My favorite book of all time growing up. All right, well, this is going to be a bit of a strange one, but when I was young, very young, my mom read Bram Stoker's Dracula to me
Wow.
by, by firelight late at night. So it probably helps to understand some of the maybe gothic tone settings to some of the scenes in the books of Desdemona. But it was such an entrancing story, filled with castles and adventure and danger and people throwing themselves just into the fray of life and existence. So that truthfully is probably one of my favorites, though not really a children's book. It was read to me as a child. A bit of a younger book on that would probably have been J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings series. I avidly loved it and found myself going on the adventures with Samwise and Frodo. Just, it was easy to get lost in there. And really, I probably kept those realms in my head entirely since that day. So, yeah, I mean, I read tons of books. Comic books, actually, were also, I know this is more than one, but the early stylings of Alan Moore and the Swamp Thing, Neil Gaiman's The Sandman later on, but those were big influences that kind of broke the ground of imagination in comic books. They were allowed to play outside the boundaries. So those are all, I guess, inspirations for me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing so much about what you do. We're excited to meet your artist and see what it's like working with you, to see how
Oh,
he makes these imaginations come to life. That must be quite the collaboration.
the new book's going to have a vast array of beautiful images, and we're going to be exhibiting at the Louisiana Book Festival at the end of October and releasing our next book on October 23rd. So that's our goal right now. Yeah, is
That's
to
exciting. I can't wait for the second one. How many do you think there'll be in the final series?
15. That's kind of what we're gearing towards. So it's a long-term project. It's something
Wow,
when
that must have been a long poem.
it's a very long poem. Yep.
All right. So stay tuned while we meet the artist. This exciting story. Hi, welcome back to Desdemona's Dreams. In a castle in a land where dreams may wander just like sand, we have an amazing artist that contributes to this book. His name is Aaron Porter. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So tell us about you and how you work with Mr. Zachary Moore. How does that collaboration work? Because your books are amazing, and I can't wait to see the whole series.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's our collaboration is kind of a dream come true. We've been friends for many years, and he's been working on his poetry, and I've been working on my paintings. And we came to this point of him approaching me with the script, the original full book script of Desdemona's Dreams, and told me he was really excited about how versatile my style was, and he wanted to work on developing a fairy tale series with me, but he wanted to make sure I was excited about the world he had written first. So he gave me the script, which was a rare pleasure in those days. He was very guarded about sharing it, and I took it home and I read it and thought about it for about a week and came back and said, I absolutely love this world. I really want to do this project with you. Let's figure out how to do that. And we've been in that process now for several years. And this past February, finally came out with the first book. And the process of finally publishing the work, we had to figure out how to actually respect each other's creative realms. So we kind of figured out how to each have our own little kingdom. Where I have my kingdom is the illustrations, his kingdom is the words, but we're very friendly neighbors.
That's awesome. So can you tell me a little bit about how you came up with this one, with the knight and the dragon having tea?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's one of my favorites.
Because they look so laid back and relaxed. So what's their story?
So in Desdemona's home, she lives in the house that Dream built. And in the kitchen, there's a fresco of a dragon and a knight having tea. And they're sort of animated in her world. She says hello to them when she comes in for breakfast, and they're always very friendly and wave back. So it was just that line of script just popped out at me as a really beautiful image, something really fun. I get to have so much fun with this project because Zach writes so visually that there's just kind of a feast of options of what I might pull out into the illustrations.
Wow. And how do you start off your illustrations? Because they're all equally creative and amazing.
Thank you. How I start them, it always starts with the text. Yeah, luckily I have a team on this project. We have me and Zach, and then my father's actually doing our layout. He's been a graphic designer for 30 years and is just super excited to help us with this. But so I get together with them and I go through the script and I earmark everything that I'm excited about, all the images that I think are really essential to the way the story's moving, and all the images that just grab my imagination. And then I'll lay them out in front of the team and say, these are the ones I like. Which ones would you pick? And then we kind of narrow it down until we have a manageable list. And from there, the story starts to really blossom visually, just picking those central images.
Wow. And do you start off with sketches or watercolor?
It's all sketches. Yeah, it's all drawings at first. I do a lot of research for finding good source images, because so many of the characters and the style that I'm doing the illustrations in require a certain level of realism that you just can't fake. So I do a lot of research finding the good images to base my paintings on, and then I'll do a series of sketches to determine the composition, determine the character design. It's not until the very final drawing that I finally get to start putting color in, which is always my favorite part.
Wow. And I don't know if I have the rights this way, right?
Yeah, you've got it right.
Okay. So this is, tell us a little bit about this scene and how you pictured it, because it's exactly the way he describes it in the book.
It's funny, that's actually the last painting that I did for that book. And it was this journey over the course of the book to really find this world, find out what it looked like.
Hmm.
And when I got to the final weeks of the project of just the last small images, there was this line, the whirlwinds and the sands that burn, and the description of the ballerina turning like the sands, and I just had this vision of the dust devil uh, made of music, but I didn't know what that looked like. So I started combing through photographs of tornadoes and dust devils, and found this one just sweet little poof of a dust devil, and that image led me directly to that painting, and it became really natural to wind the music around the dust devil. It just immediately popped up. So much of it is just finding the right source image to leap from.
Well, I think that it promotes imagination, especially in the visual. There's so much realism in it. Even in the way that you did the gargoyle, he's adorable. Wow. Now, what is he holding?
So he's holding a little roll of parchment.
Hmm.
This is actually one of the really fun things that I get to do with the illustrations, is that there's sort of a call and response between Zach and myself, where everything is based on his original script, but then when I start visualizing the world, I'll have to figure out certain little details, like what do the top of Desdemona's bedposts look like? What color are her walls? Like these things that aren't necessarily in the text, I have to invent. And I'll talk with Zach about a lot of them, but sometimes I just come up with something and then he loves it, and he'll integrate the idea back into the text. So the gargoyle, there's a short description of it in the text of perching on top of the house and beckoning people with its finger and flying off into the night. Just generally kind of a creepy, whimsical thing. And this character became just full-fledged in my mind as I was designing him, and I decided that he's probably one of the aunt's messenger boys.
Hmm.
So I decided when I illustrated him to have a scroll in his hand to give him that I'm a statue, but I could come to life at any moment kind of feeling.
Wow. And I love the way that you guys made all of the pictures available, not only in, like these type of forms, but you made them available as cards, and on the back of each card, like the gargoyle with a wink. The stone gargoyle leaped into the air. But it's not, such a nice segue for people to write that personal note.
Yeah.
It's just really helpful because I think people don't write personal notes as much, and it just
Yeah.
really gives them a way into it. Especially,
Yeah, I really love writing letters. So as soon as I produce all our prints because I produce prints of my other work already, and immediately when we published the book and we had all the final photographs of the paintings, I couldn't help myself. I was like, oh, just look what I can do, and
I
printed everything out.
know, but it's like then through the haze she can hear it again. So it's the perfect card to send, and it gives them the perfect segue. Like you'll make it through this. There's always bumps in the road on the way to happily ever after, or
Mm.
you know, it may be maddening at this point. It just really gives people that extra cute little twist to write a handwritten note to somebody just to show they care. That's
Mm.
another part of the series that I love. And the buttons, so we all feel like we belong to this, world of Desdemona.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm 12, but I love the series.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
It's a pleasure. So tell us about your other work. What else do you do? Because you're an established artist. You do paintings. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I've been focusing on my painting work full time for the past 5 years, and I realize how incredibly fortunate I am to live in New Orleans. It's a big part of why I moved there and why I continue to live there. Uh, but it's one of the few cities I've ever been to that you can actually make a living on your creative work directly with no middleman, and make a really decent living that way. So I sell a lot of my work on Jackson Square in the French Quarter. I also have a number of shops in town that carry my work and have supported me over the years. But there's two central bodies of work that I do in New Orleans. One of them is this cartoon dinosaur world that I call my world of whimsy. And those characters are all simple, flat, brightly colored, simple line work, very cartoony. So, like, one of my favorite characters is a little orange stegosaurus holding a walnut. So that kind of aesthetic is that world. And then my other body of work is called my menagerie, and that's more in the realism realm.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of paintings of photographs of animals on stained wood fabrics. There's a sort of worn vintage feel to the pieces. I do a lot of shadow boxes with them. It's a quieter, kind of more beautiful body of work.
Wow.
They're very different. They're very different bodies of work.
Really looking forward to more from you and Zachary.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of the stuff you see behind me right now is for the second volume of Desdemona's Dreams.
Really?
That's what we're working on right now. Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be a wonderful story. I can't wait to see the finished product.
Oh yeah, me too.
I know, it looks like you guys will be working together for a while. Almost 15 volumes on this series.
That's the plan. Yeah. It's a real commitment. I mean, he wrote a full-length novel, and it took us a long time to figure out that we needed to break it into volumes to make it manageable for us to, you try to do full illustration for an entire volume, an entire novel-length book. That takes years, and we really wanted to see something of our work out in the world much faster than that. And we realized that by breaking it up into volumes, we'd get to learn as we went. So doing the best we could with volume one and having that received so positively and learning so much from it that we're only, every book is only going to get better.
Right. And you guys are so great at interacting with your fans
Oh,
online.
yeah.
That's so nice. So we'll look forward to seeing more of Desdemona's Dreams. Don't keep us waiting too long, though, okay?
Oh, we won't. Trust me. We're in a hurry to get this story out there.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll see you soon, and thank you again.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Until next time, keep asking questions, and you can check into Zach and Aaron at DesdemonasDreams.com. These are two guys that are so full of heart and imagination. You're going to love everything they bring forward. We'll see you soon.